Hello and welcome to this C programming video. My name's David Thorne. In this C programming video, we're going to be talking all about how to use the Argc and the Argv, or just basically how to receive arguments from your executable using the C programming language. With that said, let's just jump in to talk about exactly how to do this. So on the screen right now, you can see our main function. This is the entry point to our application. And as per normal, we have our main function. And we can see here that we are taking two parameters, an argc, or we're taking an integer, and then we are taking a char array. So you may have seen this argv written in a couple of ways. Either this way, which is then a pointer to an array of pointers, all right, a char pointers. So we can get rid of this first one, and we can do it like this as well. And this is exactly the same thing. All it is saying is that I've received some string content or string literals from the command line, and I want an array of those pointers to those string literals. And so this is basically saying, hey, I want an array of chars. Because arrays are already by definition a pointer to the first element, we are saying, hey, give me a pointer to that actual array in the beginning. All right, that's why using a double star is the same as using the square brackets, all right? So here we're saying we want an array here of pointers to string literals that have been passed by the argument, passed by the command line terminal. So once we've done that, we come into our main function. We can iterate over all of the arguments that have been provided. Now, obviously, if you know that you need a specific or a minimum amount of arguments from your application, then you can start just by checking the argc from the beginning is equal to 2 or something like that, or is more than 2, or however many arguments you think that you might need. And if we look down the bottom, you can see arg0 is then the file path, the absolute file path to the argument, to the application, the executable itself, or the binary itself. Okay, this binary is called C arguments, and it's located within inside of the derived data and so on. So this is the actual path to it. So if you want to know your physical path to that one file, it's always the first argument as well. All right. So it means that if you need at least a argument to come in, then you would say if arguments is less than 1, for example, right, or less than 2, for example, sorry, because the arg0 is always going to be this file path. So you need to know that you're going to have at least 2 there. Then you can come here and exit out of the application, right? And we need the standard lib for this. And so if it's less than 2, you can see that everything is fine. Well, let's just create a new schema, and we'll just call it arguments1, and we run this again, and you'll see now program ended with exit code 1. All right, because we can just say here incorrect number of arguments provided. Okay, we run this again, you'll see incorrect number of arguments provided, because it hasn't been provided any arguments. Right, so if we now add another argument to this, and we'll just say volumes, for example, and we run this again, you can see here now we get argument 1 is volumes. Now you have to remember is that these are all string literals that have been added to it. So if you want to be able to use an integer or something like that, you're going to have to be able to pass that to double check that it is actually a valid integer. If you say that the third argument needs to be an integer or needs to be a float, then you need to do your due diligence to check to see whether that is a float or a double and so on. So remember, everything is going to be a string literal in the beginning. Okay, so this is basically all you need to know about. The argc will tell you exactly how many items are inside of this array of pointers to string literals. All right, and then the argv is going to contain that number of arguments as well. Just to talk about, you may see some applications when on the terminal, and you say like cats my file.txt, right? And this is going to print all of the data within inside that file to the interactive terminal, all right? And if you then see like pipe less, now this piping is saying redirect the standard out of this to the standard in of less. Now you will not see this information through the Argv, all right? This is another thing totally. So if you start thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm going to pipe it into my application, you need to handle it differently. This is not going to work, all right? The only time that you're going to get any arguments in this is that if you say if this is like my application here, or in this sense, it would be C arguments 1, and then you would say then volumes, and then media, and then 2024. This is 3 arguments. So obviously you would have then a count of 4 because you've got the actual file path as well. But then you would have index 1, index 2, index 3 here. So if you want to just have 1 argument, you would need to make sure that that is all put into quotation marks so your application is recognized as a single argument. So this is something to understand, is that if you've got a TTY, all right, if you've got a TTY, an interactive terminal, all right, an interactive terminal, then you will get the Argc and Argv with all of your arguments, all right. Now, if you don't, so this is a TTY, right? If it is not a TTY, then you need to read from standard in, okay? Because that means that if there has been, it doesn't necessarily have to come from pipe, all right? It could be that something has found your process on the system, and then it has written the data to your one application through standard in. So this is basically, if you need to read from standard in within inside of your application, then it could be that you've been piped to, or it could be that you've had a redirection and so on. So redirection is like saying that they're going to redirect to a specific error file or something like that, right? Or another application and so on. So this is different things that you have to remember. But the most important thing to understand is that if you've got Argc and it is the number of command line arguments that have been passed and so on, then you have a TTY, all right? You have an interactive terminal. If you don't have that, but the application is running as required, right, and the path is as required, then you know that you don't have a TTY, and there you need to check whether or not you're reading from standard in. Okay, so these are just extra things that you need to think about, but I wanted to add it to this one video because maybe you might be watching this one video because you're trying to work out how to get the data from standard in through it. Well, this int.c, argc and argv is not the way to read, not the way to get this data. You need to read it from the standard in, okay? And it is not a TTY. And if you put this all together, right, it is a C function, is a TTY. And this is what you need to call. And it needs to check whether or not the file number, right, is standard in. And in this sense, the file number is standard in when it's like this, because the actual the current TTY has taken these arguments here and passed it to your standard in, right? Something else has controlled that for you, but it has also converted it to your Argc and your Argv for you. So before, so essentially there'll be like a middle ground there that did that for you, that passed all this to your application. Anyway, with that said, that you could probably talk a long time about this. So, but just as a golden nugget, TTY stands for teletype writer. All right. So, or unless it stands for teletype, and that's writer is then removed. But this is then the old school, like telegram style computers or keyboards, let's just call it, that the users use to send telegrams and stuff through the wire. And then later on, they decided that they could add a keyboard onto a computer and do other things. So this is where it's just a legacy thing that's stayed there and so on. But you might have seen also PTY, all right? That's another pseudo terminal, pseudo teletype writer, and so on. So these are different things that you might have seen, which might have brought you to this one video. But this is a good basis for you to understand about how then to talk about these things, all right? With that said, I hope that you've learned something in this video. I hope you've got something. And, I think, how to use Argc and Argv, it might sound very trivial, but it depends on which circumstances you're using it. If you want to make your application compatible with the pipe and also with reading from standard in rather than just from being passed arguments on the interactive terminal, then you need to write the code slightly different. But I will do another video about how to read standard in and how to obviously check to see whether you're receiving a TTY, or you are a TTY, or your application has been run on a TTY, and stuff like that. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. Just as a side note, I always create these videos like in a batch and so on. And this video is going to be released on the 26th because I already have another video planned for the 25th. Now, if you want to see these videos as soon as they are basically live, as soon as I upload them to YouTube and I set them live, then you're more than welcome to join, become a member of the channel. And this is one of the perks that you will have. It's going to be the minimum perk, at least. If you want to be a member of the channel, then you should at least have the possibility to see all videos that I upload. All right, and I've decided that I'm gonna, I've been going through some of my holiday videos and some of my other videos where I think I'm just not going to post them to be listed everywhere. So I've got a whole bunch of these other videos as well, and I'm probably going to do some other videos in the background where I just don't think they're going to be good to publish on YouTube. But they're still good there for reference in the future. So if you are really a David's videos person, and I want David to make videos, then think about becoming a member. And as it grows, I obviously will remember the first people becoming members. They will have a special place on this channel for me. With that said, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching all the way through to the end. Thank you for all the support. And if you do have any feedback, comments or concerns or anything like that, let's start a conversation in the comment section down below. And if you do become a member, thank you very much, first of all. Thank you for supporting me. And if you have any ideas or things that you think I should make videos about, then I'll put them on my list of videos to make, and you'll be able to see them as soon as I upload them because you're a member. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. It's probably not going to be a C programming video, but it's probably going to be in around the region of handling files and handling TTYs and this, that, and the other. So thank you very much for watching. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.